What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Demigod. So Demigod is a brand new film that I got to check out just a little bit early that comes out later this week on October 15th and will be available in select theaters as well as on VOD. This film stars Rachel Nichols, Yohance Myles, and Miles Doleac, who also wrote and directed the film. And yeah, I got to check it out a little bit early. The basic premise of this film is we're introduced to a married couple, and the wife of this couple, they're going to her grandfather's house. I believe the film takes place in Germany. I believe there's times where they're speaking German and Dutch in the film. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, this does have a foreign element at times, but most of the film is in English. And yeah, I was definitely intrigued by the premise. I was really intrigued by the way that this film looked as well. You can definitely tell they're working on a limited budget, which is, totally fine. I've seen plenty of screeners recently that have a limited budget that can do a lot of really great things. And I think for this one, the premise was better than the execution, but there are some positives I want to talk about in just one moment, and also some negatives. So you have this wife and husband visiting the wife's dead grandfather's home that was left to her. They get there, and she starts to kind of have these old repressed memories start to kind of rear their ugly head again, and she starts to kind of remember some of the very tragic, weird, and kind of traumatic situations that she went through as a kid that were pretty much just child abuse that her grandfather had put her through. And so yeah, she goes there, she starts looking at things, there's a creepy vibe, and not too long into the film, they are visited by these strangers who end up kind of grabbing them and a couple other individuals who are in the area and kind of putting them in the middle of this place where they're now going to be essentially hunted by this deity, this demigod, who looks like a minotaur and comes around the same time of year every year to kind of do this kind of ritual where they chase down these various individuals and hunt them down. It reminded me a lot of the third, I believe it's the third one, the third Predator movie. I think that was just called Predators with an S at the end. Yeah, similar premise where you have these characters who are all rounded up and kind of are just being used as bait for hunting for these, creatures, or in this case a demigod that's like a minotaur. You have this creature who's just kind of doing it for sport. And yeah, the premise was cool. I thought it was really cool right out of the gate. I liked the feel, the look, the vibe. There were some elements about the acting and some of the lines of dialogue I wasn't crazy about, but the performances for the most part I found to be pretty solid, and the cinematography and the look of the film was pretty good. Where this movie lost me was just in the way the story does play out. By the time I was in the halfway point of the movie, it breezed by. I will say it was a pretty easy watch, but I could say I was pretty bored and I wasn't really attached to any of the characters or any of the things that had really happened up to this point. Also, since they are working on a limited budget, there were elements about this film, unfortunately, when it comes to some of the special effects around the Minotaur, that just didn't work for me. His face isn't necessarily animated at times, and it just kind of looks like a guy wearing a mask who is a minotaur that's speaking beneath it. I don't want to get deep into spoilers, but what I will say is I wasn't crazy about Demigod. I think there are elements about the performances and the way the film looks, some of the costume design, and the overall premise that could be really awesome. And while I was watching it, all I kept thinking was, if Miles Doleac had a bigger budget and was able to do a little bit more with this film than probably he was able to do, I think that he probably could have nailed it and made something really cool. Overall, it wasn't really attached to the characters, and that's the main thing you want when you walk into a movie. You want an experience, you want something that's cool, something that's visually enticing, but you definitely want characters to be able to grip onto and a narrative around them that you actually find yourself caring about. And sadly, with Demigod, I did not have that. A really solid premise with some really cool ideas. I love fantasy, I love horror, so to kind of blend those two in this film and have this minotaur, demigod, demon character almost that they have to run from throughout the course of the film, I thought that was cool, and the way that they kind of hide him in silhouettes and shadows a lot of times were pretty cool, as well as the red eyes that they gave the character. But ultimately, by the time the movie was over, I didn't care about anything that happened, and it was just one of those movies that kind of, came into my mind and instantly fell out of my mind, and I can't really say I would revisit this movie. So a big thanks to the people at Gravita's Ventures for sending me yet another screener. Always grateful to be able to check out a movie early and give you guys my honest opinions on the film. I don't think this is a flat out bad movie, do not take me wrong, but it wasn't a film narratively that I could really attach to, and sadly that's what kind of took me out of it, though there were elements about the way it was put together and the premise that I thought were pretty cool. So that's going to be my thoughts on this movie. Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Have you seen this movie? Are you intrigued by this movie? Have you heard of this movie? Answer any and all of that, or whatever else you want down below in the comment section. Hit that like button, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.